One aspect of single-page applications that we haven't covered yet is how debugging works. As I mentioned before, in single-page applications, there's a very clear separation between the client and the server. The server is responsible for generating files, talking with the backend, where the front side, the client side, is responsible for displaying all this data in a way that the user can easily digest. If there are any problems in the middle tier, those can be debugged wherever the middle tier is created. But when it comes to issues with perhaps throwing JavaScript errors or things displaying slightly incorrectly, developing on the front end and debugging on it is a must. The browser that I'm using right now is Google Chrome. It's probably the most popular one for developing single-page applications, primarily because it has a really rich set of tools that allow us to see what's happening on the page at any given time. So in my browser, to access the developer tools, I press F12. This allows me to see everything on the page, what files have been downloaded, if there were any that came through, and it also allows me to see what JavaScript I'm running. So let's say I had an issue somewhere and I wanted to actually step into my code and see what was going on in the call stack. What I would do is find the file, which in this case I only have one file, and then set a breakpoint. I would then go back and refresh the page. What this has done is, since I set a breakpoint here, it's got me in the call stack to where it's seeing right now what the page is actually seeing. I can do things like step into, step over. I can do conditional breakpoints too, to where if I wanted to make sure, there's 20 conditions where this breakpoint can be hit, but I really only care about one of them, I could set up a conditional breakpoint to do that. In this case, I'll just step over, step over, step over. I can bring up this little console here by clicking the console icon, or the shortcut to it is the escape key. If I want to inspect a contact object, I can type it in and press enter. It'll allow me to see everything that's going on in my prototype. I can see some of the ext internals that are going on here, and some of the guts that aren't really important to what I'm looking for. Let's say I wanted to set name. This allows me to set and get objects dynamically. So even if my code says to do one thing, since I'm in this debugging mode, I can tell it this one time do something else. Now it's important to note that any changes I make on here will not be reflected on my actual code itself. So if someone else were to load the same web page and pull down and do everything, they wouldn't be able to see the changes I'm making here, because this is really on the client side. Once we have a general idea of what's wrong, then it's okay to go back into our IDE and adjust things accordingly so that the file that we're sending to the clients has been changed. But right now the client is the one that has the file. They can do whatever they want with it. It's just that their changes won't persist over time. So if I wanted to change what name I got it, after I do that line, I can do a contact name. See, it's this. I can change it to my name, and then when I call the method again, it'll be different. So then I can continue through the rest of my script, and you'll notice that this name has changed. But if I reload it again, don't worry about that, and then come back, it hasn't actually changed. The developer tools that Chrome offers allow us to do some pretty cool stuff like that. Profiling, audits, general console changes, and the ability to change what's in the DOM really make it a good browser to use when developing single-page applications.